He stopped her and filmed it. Why angle the camera except this was planned?
Don't help her. My husband's fingers crushed around my arm as my daughter clawed at her throat, eyes wide, silent, no air, no sound, just panic spilling across her face. We were at our dinner table, plates still warm, glasses half full, when Lily started choking right in front of us. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. I moved without thinking, reaching for her, but Daniel didn't hesitate. He pulled me back, hard, like I was the danger, not the one trying to save her. Stop, he said again. Calm, too calm. Then he lifted his phone and aimed it at her. Lily's body jerked forward, her voice barely breaking through. Mom! And I realized he wasn't trying to stop me from helping. He was waiting for something. Don't help her. My husband's fingers crushed around my arm as my daughter clawed at her throat, eyes wide, silent, no air, no sound, just panic spilling across her face. We were at our dinner table, plates still warm, glasses half full, when Lily started choking right in front of us. I moved without thinking, reaching for her, but Daniel didn't hesitate. He pulled me back, hard, like I was the danger, not the one trying to save her. Stop, he said again. Calm, too calm. Then he lifted his phone and aimed it at her. Lily's body jerked forward, her voice barely breaking through. Mom! And I realized he wasn't trying to stop me from helping. He was waiting for something. Daniel, what are you doing? My voice cracked as I twisted against his grip, trying to rip my arm free. He didn't even look at me. His eyes stayed locked on Lily. Focused, steady, watching her like this was something he expected. Stay back, he said quietly. Not angry, not panicked, controlled. That's what made it worse. Lily stumbled against the table, knocking over her glass. Water spread across the wood, dripping onto the floor as her small hands gripped her throat tighter, her face turning a frightening shade of red. No sound, just the scrape of her chair and the choking silence. Daniel, she can't breathe, I shouted, my whole body shaking now. Let go of me! I yanked harder, but his grip only tightened, fingers digging into my skin like he was anchoring me in place. I said, don't help her, he repeated. My stomach dropped. There was no hesitation in him, no second guessing. Like he'd already decided this. Are you insane? I snapped, my voice rising, panic turning sharp. She's choking! For a split second, his eyes flicked toward me. Cold, flat, then back to Lily. Watch, he said. Watch? My heart slammed against my ribs. Watch what? Lily gagged, her body folding forward, her forehead nearly hitting the table. The plate in front of her slid and shattered as it hit the floor, the sound cracking through the room. Still, Daniel didn't move. Didn't flinch. Didn't rush. He adjusted his phone slightly, angling it better. Like he didn't want to miss anything. Something inside me twisted hard, a cold realization creeping in beneath the panic. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't him freezing. He was documenting it. Daniel! I screamed, louder this time, raw and desperate. Put the phone down and help her! Nothing. Just that same steady breathing, that same fixed stare. Lily's knees buckled, her small body tipping forward, catching herself on the edge of the table before slipping again. Her fingers scratched at her throat, weaker now, her movements losing strength. No. No, no, no. I surged forward again, putting everything I had into breaking his grip. Let me go, I cried. For a second, just a second, his hand shifted. And I thought I had it. But then he stepped closer behind me, his other hand bracing my shoulder, holding me in place with terrifying ease. You'll ruin it, he said under his breath. Ruin it. The words didn't make sense. What are you talking about? I gasped, twisting my head to look at him. She's dying. His jaw tightened slightly, not in fear, but in irritation. Like I was the one causing a problem. Not yet, he said. Not yet. The room tilted. Lily made a small, broken sound, barely a breath, as she slumped forward fully this time, her upper body hitting the table with a dull, final thud. Lily! I screamed, something inside me snapping. I thrashed harder, ignoring the pain in my arm, my shoulder, my wrist, anything to get free. And this time, something shifted. His grip loosened, just enough. I didn't hesitate. I tore myself forward, stumbling the last step toward her, grabbing her shoulders, pulling her upright. Her head lolled for a second before her eyes fluttered, barely conscious, barely there. It's okay, baby. I've got you. Just breathe. Just breathe. My hands moved automatically, positioning, pulling her in. Behind me, I could still hear it. The faint sound of Daniel's phone recording. Still going. Still watching. And as I wrapped my arms around Lily, preparing to force the air back into her lungs, I heard Daniel say, almost to himself, "Come on," like he was waiting for a result, waiting for something specific to happen. My hands froze for half a second. A single, horrible thought cutting through everything else. This wasn't just wrong. This was planned. And I didn't know what he was trying to prove. But I knew one thing. If I didn't act right now, I might lose her. And somehow, that still didn't make him move. The sound of Lily trying to breathe was smaller now, and that terrified me more than the panic had. I tightened my arms around her and pulled her away from the table, my hands shaking so badly I almost lost my grip. Her body felt light, too light and limp, in a way an 8-year-old never should. I could feel Daniel behind me, still close enough to make my skin crawl, and I didn't need to turn around to know he was still holding that phone. "Lily, listen to me," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady even as my heart hammered out of control. "I need you to stay with me, okay? Stay with Mommy." Her eyes fluttered, glassy, and unfocused. Then she gagged again. That movement snapped me back into action. I shifted her, trying to remember every step, every instruction from a first aid class I'd taken years ago and prayed I'd never need. But even as I moved, even as my body fought to save my daughter on pure instinct, another part of my mind was racing backward. Because none of this felt sudden anymore. It felt wrong in a way that reached behind the moment into the last hour, the last day, maybe longer. Daniel almost never cooked. That was the first thing. He liked routines, and our routines were fixed. I usually handled dinner, especially on weeknights, especially when Lily had school the next morning. Daniel liked order, liked things done a certain way, but he rarely stepped in unless he had a reason. Tonight, he had. When I came into the kitchen after helping Lily with her spelling words, he was already at the counter plating everything. Pasta for me, chicken and vegetables for him. And for Lily, a sliced piece of roasted chicken, buttered peas, and bread. "I've got it," he'd said when I reached for Lily's plate. Not sharply, just firmly. I remember pausing because that tone from him always meant the same thing. This wasn't a suggestion. "She likes me to cut it smaller," I'd said. "You know that." "She's 8, Mara, not 2. At the time, it had sounded like one of his usual comments. Cold, but not unusual. Daniel had a way of making ordinary things feel like quiet corrections. Over the years, I'd learned how to move around those moments, how to keep the peace, especially in front of Lily. Still, I'd looked at the plate. The chicken pieces were bigger than I would have cut them. Not huge, not cartoonishly obvious, just big enough that I noticed. And he noticed me noticing. "She needs to learn to chew properly," he said. I almost answered, almost pushed. But Lily had come into the kitchen just then, still carrying her workbook, smiling in that tired little way she did when she wanted both of us to approve of her at the same time. So I let it go. That decision hit me now like a punch to the ribs. Lily coughed hard against my shoulder, and I repositioned her, trying again to help her breathe. "Come on, baby. Come on." Behind me, Daniel finally spoke. Not like that. I turned my head so fast my neck hurt. "What?" His voice stayed even. "You're panicking. My daughter is choking." He lowered the phone just slightly, and for the first time since this started, he actually looked at me, not through me, not around me, at me. And there was something deeply unsettling in his expression. Not fear, not regret. Assessment. Like he was studying whether I was doing what he expected. "You always do this," he said. For one disorienting second, I thought I'd heard him wrong. "Do what?" "Turn everything into chaos." The words landed so hard they almost knocked the air out of me. Lily was in my arms fighting for breath, and he was saying this to me now. My mind flashed through dozens of moments I'd buried because they seemed too small to matter on their own. The school recital where he told me I was hovering when Lily got nervous backstage. The time she fell off her bike and he said I made it worse by rushing to her before she stopped crying. The way he'd correct my tone, my timing, my reactions, always framing me as too emotional, too fast, too much. And Lily had heard those things? Maybe not every word, but enough. Enough to make her glance at him before taking bites of food. Enough to make her sit a little straighter when he entered a room. Enough to make her say, just 10 minutes before dinner, Dad said I should eat like a big girl tonight. My blood ran cold. I looked at the shattered plate on the floor, the spilled water, the chair pushed too far back, his phone still pointed toward us. Then I remembered one more thing. Right before Lily took that bite, Daniel had checked his watch. Not casually. Precisely. Like he was waiting for a moment to begin. And now, standing there with my daughter choking in my arms, and my husband filming us like this was evidence instead of a nightmare, I finally said the thing that had been forming in pieces since he grabbed me. What did you do? Daniel didn't answer right away. He just lifted his phone again, steadied it with both hands, and said in that same calm voice, exactly what I needed to. Lily's body jerked again in my arms, weaker this time, and the fear sharpened into something unbearable. I didn't respond to him. I couldn't. There wasn't space in my head for his words anymore, only Lily. I shifted my stance, planted my feet, and pulled her upright, wrapping my arms around her from behind the way I barely remembered. My hands fumbled once, then locked into place just below her ribs. Stay with me, I whispered, more to myself than to her. Behind us, Daniel moved. Not toward us. Just adjusting. I saw it in the reflection of the dark window across the room, his figure stepping slightly to the side, angling himself so he could see both my face and Lily's body in the frame. He was framing the shot. A cold wave passed through me, but I didn't stop. I pulled. Nothing. Lily's body convulsed, but no air came through, no sound, just that horrible, hollow silence. Again, Daniel said. Not urgent. Precise. Like he was following instructions. I swallowed hard and pulled again, harder this time. Lily gagged violently. A small piece dislodged barely anything, but it triggered a thin, ragged inhale. Not enough, not safe, but something. Again, Daniel repeated. I froze for half a second. Why did he sound satisfied? I didn't have time to question it. I adjusted my grip and pulled a third time, putting everything I had into it. My arms burned, my hands shook, but this time, Lily coughed. Hard. A larger piece of chicken flew from her mouth and hit the floor with a wet, awful sound. Air rushed into her lungs in a broken, desperate gasp. She collapsed back against me, coughing uncontrollably, her whole body trembling. There you go, Daniel said quietly. I turned, still holding her, my chest heaving. What is wrong with you? He lowered the phone slowly. And for the first time since this started, he smiled. Not wide, not obvious, but enough. Enough to make something deep in my stomach drop. Good, he said. Good. My grip tightened protectively around Lily as she clung to me, her fingers digging into my arm now, her breath still uneven but there. Alive. She was alive. That's exactly what I needed. The words didn't register at first. Then they did. What? My voice came out hoarse. What are you talking about? Daniel didn't answer me directly. Instead, he glanced down at his phone screen, tapping it once, reviewing something. His thumb moved with careful precision, like he was checking details, not replaying something traumatic. You hesitated, he said. I stared at him, not understanding. I what? You hesitated, he repeated, lifting his eyes back to mine. When she started choking, you didn't act immediately. The room felt like it tilted again. That's not true, I said, shaking my head, my voice rising. You grabbed me. You held me back. His expression didn't change. You panicked, he continued like I hadn't spoken. You escalated the situation. You made it worse before you made it better. I took a step back, pulling Lily with me, putting distance between us. She could have died, I snapped. But she didn't, he replied. Flat, final, like that settled everything. My pulse pounded in my ears. What is this? Why were you filming? At that, something shifted just slightly in his posture. Not hesitation. Readiness. He turned the phone around and took a step closer, holding the screen out toward me. Look. I didn't want to. Every instinct in me screamed not to look. But I did. The video was already playing. It started just before Lily choked her, sitting at the table, bringing the food to her mouth. Then, the moment it happened. The panic. The chair scraping. Me. Standing up. But not fast enough. From this angle, from his angle, it looked like I paused. Like I froze. Like I didn't understand what was happening. Then the struggle. But not clearly. His body blocked part of the frame. His hand on my arm wasn't obvious. It just looked like I was trying to move around him. Clumsy, uncoordinated. Delayed. I watched myself reach Lily too late. He had cut out nothing. He hadn't needed to. The angle did the work. My stomach twisted violently. This isn't right, I whispered. This isn't what happened. Daniel tilted his head slightly. It's exactly what happened. No, you, my voice broke. You stopped me. You held me back. He lowered the phone again, slipping it casually into his hand. There's no proof of that, he said. The words landed with a quiet, devastating weight. Behind me, Lily shifted weakly, her voice small and shaken. Mom. I looked down at her instantly. I'm here, baby. I've got you. Her eyes were still glassy, confused. She swallowed hard, wincing slightly. Why didn't you help me? Everything inside me shattered. I did, I said quickly, my voice trembling. I did help you. But even as I said it, I heard it. The hesitation, the uncertainty. Because from where she had been sitting, from what she had seen, I hadn't gotten to her right away. Daniel's voice cut in, soft but deliberate. That's a good question. I looked up at him, something cold and sharp rising through the fear now. What are you doing? I asked, quieter this time. He met my gaze without blinking. And for the first time, he didn't deflect. Didn't soften it. Didn't hide it. I'm fixing a problem, he said. My breath caught. What problem? His answer came without hesitation. You. The word hung in the air between us. Heavy. Final. And suddenly, every small moment, every quiet correction, every time he'd made me doubt myself, they didn't feel small anymore. They felt like pieces. Leading here. You planned this, I said slowly, the realization settling into place with terrifying clarity. You planned all of this. Daniel didn't look away. Of course I did. My hands tightened around Lily instinctively. Why? I demanded, my voice barely holding together. Why would you do this? He took a step closer. Close enough that I could see the reflection of the video still open on his screen. Close enough that I could hear how steady his breathing was. We needed proof, he said. Proof. The word echoed in my head. Proof of what? And before I could stop myself, before I could brace for whatever he was about to say next, I asked the question that suddenly mattered more than anything else. Proof of what? Proof that you're not fit to take care of her. The words didn't come out loud. They didn't need to. Daniel said them the same way he'd said everything else. Tonight, calm, measured, like he was stating something already decided. For a second, I just stared at him. Lily shifted in my arms, her breathing still uneven, her fingers gripping my shirt like she was afraid I might disappear if she let go. You're joking, I said, but there was no strength behind it. You have to be joking. I don't joke about things like this. Of course he didn't. That was part of what made him so hard to argue with. He never raised his voice, never lost control. He just positioned things. Quietly. Carefully. Until you were the one who looked unstable. You set this up, I said, each word slower now, clearer. You let her choke. I didn't let her choke, he interrupted. I created a situation that revealed how you respond under pressure. My stomach twisted. She couldn't breathe. And you panicked. I reacted like a mother whose child is dying. You reacted emotionally, he corrected. The way he said it, like emotionally, was a flaw, not a reality, made something in me snap into focus. This wasn't about Lily. Not really. This was about control. About him needing to be right. About him needing to prove something. I tightened my hold on Lily, stepping back again, putting more space between us. You risked her life, I said. I calculated the risk, he replied instantly. Calculated. Like she was a variable. Not a child. Our child? My chest tightened. You could have been wrong. But I wasn't. The certainty in his voice was absolute. Unshakable. And that more than anything terrified me. Because it meant he'd do it again. Why now? I asked, my voice quieter, sharper. Why tonight? For the first time, Daniel hesitated. Just a fraction. But I saw it. Then he reached into his pocket again and pulled out his phone, tapping the screen before turning it toward me, not the video this time. An email. Subject line, custody evaluation, preliminary review. My blood ran cold. I filed last week, he said. The room seemed to shrink around me. You what? I initiated the process. Quietly, he continued. I wasn't going to involve you until I had something concrete. Concrete? My voice broke. You think this is concrete? It's compelling, he said. A documented emergency where you failed to act appropriately. I didn't fail, I snapped. You stopped me. There's no evidence of that, he repeated. The same line, like he'd practiced it. Like he knew exactly how this would sound in a courtroom. I felt Lily shift again, her head resting weakly against my shoulder. I could feel the warmth of her breath now uneven, but steady enough to remind me she was still here. Still alive. Despite him, she could have died, I said again, but softer now. Daniel's expression didn't change. But she didn't, he replied. I stared at him, something inside me settling not into panic this time, but into clarity. Cold, sharp clarity. You were watching the clock, I said suddenly. His eyes flickered. Just for a second. I saw you, I continued. Before this happened, you kept checking your watch. He didn't answer. You made her portions bigger, I added. You insisted on serving her yourself. Still nothing. You knew she rushes when she's nervous, I said, my voice tightening. You've told her 100 times to eat like a big girl. You knew she'd try to prove something to you. Silence. But not empty silence. The kind that confirms everything. You said every piece of this, I said. Daniel exhaled slowly. Not annoyed. Not defensive. Just accepting. Yes. The word landed heavier than anything else. Behind me, Lily let out a small, shaky breath. Mom, I don't feel good. That broke whatever stillness had settled in me. I know, baby, I said immediately. We're going to the hospital. I turned, already moving toward the hallway, toward my purse, my keys, anything to get her out of this room, away from him. Mara. His voice stopped me. Not loud, but firm. I turned halfway, keeping my body between him and Lily. If you take her in, he said, this becomes official. I blinked. What? Doctors ask questions, he continued. They document timelines, they note responses. He lifted his phone slightly, and I already have mine. My grip tightened. Are you threatening me? I asked. I'm informing you, he said. Think carefully about how this looks. How this looks? The words echoed in my head, colliding with everything I'd just seen, everything I now understood. He wasn't done. This wasn't the end of his plan. This was just the part he needed me to react to. And suddenly, I saw the next move. If I panicked again, if I rushed, if I sounded unstable, if I contradicted myself, it would all fit exactly into the story he was building. I looked down at Lily. Her face was pale, her breathing still shaky, her eyes barely open. Nothing else mattered. I looked back at Daniel, and for the first time since this started, I didn't feel confused. I felt certain. You're right, I said quietly. Something shifted in his expression. A flicker of surprise. Just enough. Then I adjusted Lily in my arms, reached into my pocket with my free hand, and pressed record on my own phone. You wanted proof? I said, meeting his eyes. Now we're both getting it. He went still. Just for a second, but it was enough. Because for the first time tonight, Daniel hadn't planned that. And he didn't know what I was going to do next. Daniel's eyes dropped just for a fraction of a second to my hand, to my phone, recording. That was all I needed. You said you calculated the risk, I said, keeping my voice steady even as my heart pounded against my ribs. Say it again. His gaze snapped back to mine. This isn't... Say it, I cut in, sharper now. You calculated the risk. You planned this. A pause. Not long, but long enough to matter. Behind the calm mask, something shifted. Not fear exactly. Daniel didn't do fear the way most people did, but recalibration. He was adjusting, trying to decide whether to keep control or pull back. I took a small step toward the door, Lily still in my arms, my phone angled just enough to catch both of us and him. You filed for custody, I continued. You needed evidence, so you made sure she choked. That's not what I said, he replied quickly. But it's what happened, I said. Silence. Heavy. Then... You're being dramatic, he said, but there was a slight edge now. Lower your voice. No, I said. One word. Flat. Final. And for the first time, I saw it. A crack. Not big, but real. You want this documented? I continued, lifting the phone slightly. Let's document everything. Mara. You grabbed me, I said, louder now. You stopped me from helping her. I restrained you because you were making it worse. You filmed her choking. I recorded your response. She could have died. I knew she wouldn't. That was it. The moment. The line he couldn't take back. I held his gaze. You knew she wouldn't? Yes. No hesitation. No correction. Just certainty. The words hung in the air, heavy and irreversible. Behind me, Lily let out a weak cough, her fingers tightening slightly in my shirt. I softened instantly, shifting her gently. It's okay, baby. I've got you. Then I looked back at him, still recording, still steady. You don't get to decide that, I said quietly. You don't get to decide when she almost dies just to prove something about me. His jaw tightened, and now, finally, there was something else there. Not panic, not regret, but irritation. Because this wasn't going the way he planned. You're overcomplicating this, he said. What matters is how this looks. And right now, I don't care how it looks. I cut in. And I meant it. That was the shift. The moment everything changed. Because as long as I cared about how things looked, he controlled the narrative. But Lily stirred again in my arms, her breath catching slightly, and the reality snapped into place with brutal clarity. This wasn't about perception. This was about what he had done. And what I was going to do next. I'm taking her to the hospital, I said. You should think about that, he replied immediately. I already have. You'll be questioned. Good. They'll document everything. Good. His eyes narrowed slightly. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking more clearly than I ever have. Another pause. Longer this time. Because now he understood. I wasn't playing within the boundaries he'd set. I wasn't trying to defend myself inside his version of events. I was stepping outside it entirely. You're making a mistake, he said. I shook my head. No, I replied. You already did. I turned and walked toward the door. This time, he didn't grab me. Didn't block me. Didn't try to stop me physically. Because now, that would be on record too. Behind me, I heard his voice one last time. Mara. I didn't turn around. If you walk out that door, he said, you're escalating this beyond repair. My hand tightened on the doorknob. I opened it. Cool air rushed in from outside, sharp and grounding. I stepped out, holding Lily close, my phone still recording, my mind locked in on one thing only, getting her safe. But as I moved toward the car, one thought stayed with me. Cold. Unavoidable. Daniel wasn't panicking. He wasn't chasing me. He wasn't trying to fix this. Which meant he still believed he was going to win. And as I buckled Lily into the back seat, her small hand still clinging weakly to mine, I realized something that made my chest tighten all over again. This wasn't over. Not even close. Because whatever Daniel had planned, it didn't end at the dinner table. And I had no idea how far he was willing to go to finish it.
So tell me, was this control or something darker? We still haven't uncovered.